Joining us here with our annual visit as we head into the All-Star break. We got to check in. It's only right. It's All-Star weekend. It's only right that we talk to the 1996 three-point contest winner, friend to the show here, of course, Tim Legler join us. Tim, what's going on, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's starting to break. Everybody's, this break means different things for different people, right? Some people are going to go to LA and participate in some of those competitions. Some are just going to go hang out. A lot of guys are taking vacations, and I am moving. You're like actually moving, like moving furniture and boxes and moving from one location to another, but it's all good. We're excited about it, but that's how I'm using my All-Star break.
All right, man. Well, we want to start off with you by asking, since you're talking about moving, the Sixers, when they come back from the break, hope to move up in the standings a little bit from where they are, 30-24, 6th in the Eastern Conference. You've seen them quite a few times in person, obviously on television as well. Now that we're here at this break and they are firmly in the mix of the Eastern Conference, how do you feel about them after seeing them with their players on the floor, with their key players on the floor, with their key players off the floor as well? How they fit in the East?
I feel that they should be considered a very dangerous team and capable of making a deep run in the Eastern Conference. I mean, that's how I view them. You cannot dismiss them because of what I've seen when they're at their best. What I've seen lately from Joel Embiid, I've seen some more burst out of him. Now, look, it's not a great sign that he missed the last 2 games before the break with different knee. Anytime you hear knee and swelling and different things like that, obviously everybody's concerned about that. But so I don't know what that's going to mean for him ultimately. I'm just going to go by what I saw leading up to that point when he missed those 2 games. And I'm seeing a guy that's showing more lift, quicker off his feet, drawing fouls again at a high rate, all the stuff that he's been known for and to be dominant for. So what I've seen of him and the progression he's made over the last couple of months, along with, the way that those other guys have played in his absence, they still have to be considered dangerous. I think the Eastern Conference is definitely going to be an open affair. I think Detroit is clearly proven they're the best team right now. I think everybody else feels like they should, in that top 4, 5, 6, feels like they should have a legitimate chance to be the last team standing against Detroit, or maybe some teams even think, hey, they could play with Detroit in a first or second round series. And the Sixers are clearly in that category because of the talent level.
So on that note, Tim, I think that thought here locally is why a lot of people were upset about the trade deadline, that they didn't bring anybody in. Jared McCain gets sent to OKC it was a nice package of picks they got back. But I guess, what did you make of that trade for McCain individually, and then just their lack of incomings and what that maybe says about how the front office or ownership views the team?
I didn't love the McCain move, honestly. And to me, like, when you see a guy that promising as a rookie, I know he had a significant knee injury, but he's a young player to have that injury. You've got a much better chance when you're younger to come back from that. You've got a better chance just in general nowadays than you did when I played, or even 15 years ago. You've just got a better chance to fully recover, but you're not going to do that in the first year you start playing. So for a guy that tears his ACL, you're going to probably, whatever you come back, it's gravy. It's going to be the following year. Like, that's when you're going to start to see Jared McCain be himself again. So I felt like it was a little bit premature. And them looking at him, the only way to me you make this move is you're looking at him every day and you're really wondering if physically he's ever going to be the same player, because he was too young and too promising to give up on that soon, unless you are convinced by watching him that, like, it's not going to happen, because they didn't help their team this year. And actually, they gave Oklahoma City something that they're going to really, I think, value. And we talked to them right after the trade. I had an Oklahoma City game. They seem thrilled with that acquisition because they're not going to be able to pay all their role players. Like, when you win a championship, those second-tier guys, especially when you gave $1 billion to your top 3 guys, those next-tier guys are not going to be able to resign, not all of them. So that means now Jared McCain becomes this really intriguing young player at a very affordable salary that can score and play in their system. So I thought that was a nice pickup by OKC. I didn't love it on the part of the Sixers.
Were you surprised that, I think that's Oklahoma City's been sitting on this huge treasure chest of picks for a while now. And I think that's the first they've traded in quite a long time. Were you surprised that it was McCain specifically that they picked as, one of these guys who's on a controllable deal that they can have on a cheap contract moving forward?
It's funny. When I first heard it, yeah. because I remember we were headed to the arena, or maybe it was the night before with that game I called. We heard the news, and it was like I was surprised at first, but then the more I thought about it, by the time I got into the arena the next night and I talked to Mark Daigneault and, talk to their guys, I was like, you know what? This makes sense. They get them right. They get them right. Sam Presti gets it right. Like, they know what they're doing. And that's exactly the play that they're making. Is they don't need Jared McCain this year. They need Jared McCain going forward, because some of these guys are going to be on other teams that were very important part of a championship team. And Jared McCain can fill that void. So when more I thought about it and who did it and who made that move, I'm not surprised, because they seem to hit on most of the things that they do.
They had Joel Embiid maybe a week or two before the deadline come out and say he didn't want to see them make moves to get under the tax. He wanted to see them keep all of their core rotation guys. He wanted to see them look to go out and, try to add to that core. And they sort of did the exact opposite. They got under the tax, didn't add anyone, subtracted McCain. Obviously, it's all really complicated nowadays between owners and the luxury tax and the aprons and every contract scrutinized. But is it tough to, as a player, is it tough to see that and not think they don't believe that we're an actual inner circle contender? Do you have to manage that reaction from players?
I don't necessarily think that. I really don't. I think players think less about it than you might think. I really believe that. You might get some star guys that are typical, guys that have maybe been on a few teams now, and they're the ones that are really driving all of your personnel moves to get the right mix around this particular player. Guys like that think about it, and they do sometimes get on social media, or they have conversations with people in the organization or the media, and it's sort of like this veiled, passive aggressive stuff, and you're basically letting the organization know. There's not a ton of guys in the league that fall into that category. Most players are kind of just sitting back, and they're just going to accept the news when they get it. They're not really as proactively sitting back thinking about the moves the team should make as a lot of people would think. And in this case, I truly believe when they run out that starting lineup, when they run out, well, not even necessarily starting lineup, when they're out Maxey, Edgecombe, and Bede, eventually they're going to get Paul George back. He's going to be very, very fresh when he comes back. That's for sure, assuming that he comes back and plays. I mean, he's going to have a lot of time off, like older players with their legs and preservation. If he makes it back this season, you're going to get him back. But they believe they've got enough talent. And you throw in a Quentin Grimes to the mix. And some of the nice pieces that they've picked up, like a Barlow, who's turned into a really good player for them. The energy that Abona gives them. They believe they've got enough talent, enough depth to make a run at it this year. So I don't think they're as devastated by the fact that nothing really significant happened to improve their team, or no needle mover was brought in, because they think they've got enough to make a run at these teams. Detroit, New York, Boston, Toronto, Cleveland, all of those teams. They believe they absolutely can go toe-to-toe with any of them.
Tim Legler joining us here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. And Tim, as you bring up Paul George, wanted to go in that direction, because how much of a blow is that, though, when you have something you expect Joel Embiid to play these last couple of games? We all did as well, at least one of them going into the break. We certainly didn't expect this from Paul George. So what does that do? The locker room stood up for him and said they have his back and all, but they still have a number of games to play without him, 25 in total, 18 left as we sit here and talk with you. And they have a lot of road games as well against some tough opponents. So what type of hit is that to the locker room, though, when you are trying to just really cement your chemistry, your camaraderie, and the cohesion for your team heading into the playoffs when you have something like that happen?
I think he puts a lot of stress on them defensively now. He's their best defender. And he checks a lot of boxes for you on that end of the floor, a lot of versatility, a lot of different guys that he can harass and use his size on, his brain on. He's probably your second best creator off the dribble with the ball, besides Maxey. So it's a stressor to your team, because it's taking away a significant element on both ends of the floor. He's basically your fourth option offensively for the most part, but he's your second best play creator. So in some ways, he's more important than your fourth best offensive player. I'm actually more concerned about what you lose defensively with him. Look, it just shrinks your depth. It puts more stress on the top guys. And maybe that means, you're not able to win as many games as you could. But what ultimately is that going to mean for them? Does that mean that they're going to fall down, into the 7, 8 spot, 9 spot because you don't have Paul George? I don't necessarily think that. I look at the Eastern Conference. and I look at like where they're positioned, I look at the standings of these teams. You got Orlando, Miami, Charlotte was red hot going into the break, but like these teams have been so inconsistent. Like the viability of them actually catching Philadelphia, I don't think that's great. So I think they're going to be in that top 6. They are sitting here, a game and a half back of Toronto. Cleveland's 3.5 up now, so it might be hard to catch them. I think they end up in the 5-6 range, regardless whether they have Paul George or not. That's probably where they end up. And all they care about is, what does Joel Embiid look like when we start the playoffs? Is he moving well? Is he upright? Is he explosive? And he was showing that. And I think that I talked to Nick Nurse the other night when we had that Nick game, and he seemed pretty confident in his group. He really did. He seems like obviously he doesn't want to be playing without Joel Embiid and Paul George right now, but he's confident, get some rest over the break. He thinks, hey, man, we were basically a 500 team without Joel Embiid. If you told him that before the season, I think he would have signed up for it. And he's confident that this team is a legitimate threat and they're to be taken seriously. And I think he likes where they're at right now, considering all the injuries. Tim, last one from me. VJ Edgecombe has come back to earth a little bit as a shooter since the year started. As someone who made a living as a shooter, how much of this do you think comes down to this is the most games he's ever played, the most minutes he's ever played, versus anything that might be happening with mechanics or how he's getting his shots? Like, what are you seeing on that front? So here's the thing with him. Like, his mechanics are pretty strong. One of the things I said about him right in the beginning of the season when we talked, I was really impressed with the way that he finishes shots and how strong he finishes shots with his wrist, the angle of his arm and how long he stays with it. That's very rare for young players, particularly when you get to the NBA and everything's rushed up. You get rushed up and you flick and your hand recoils and like there's no consistency. I love the way he finished shots. I still think I watched him the other night because I see what's going on. I mean, he's shooting 22% in the month of February from the 3. So you're right. But I think it's typical rookie fluctuations. It's going to be a little bit sporadic for guys like that because he's still, even though I like his mechanics and like I like the way he finishes a shot, you're not going to label him a pure shooter. He's more of a scorer than a shooter. And those guys are going to have these stretches where they're not making shots at a high rate from out there. He does enough other things on the court that help you win. I love the way he competes. He's a very good rebounder for his size. An adequate playmaker as like your third ball handler. But the shooting and the scoring, the deep shooting that's when he has those big nights. And sometimes that's going to leave him. And I don't know when that's going to change, but I think right now, being so young and the fact that he's not a pure shooter, he's going to have stretches like this. I wouldn't get too wrapped up in it because he's still finding ways like to score, and he still is proving that he needs to be on the court for other things that he does.
Tyrese has had a little bit up and down shooting, and especially with Joel out and Paul out, it just seems like every perimeter shot he takes has such a high degree of difficulty. It's so tough to get him an open look. What do you think they can do, whether it's on ball, off ball, to maybe get him a few cleaner looks per game so he can be a little more consistent? You hit it on the head right there, and I saw that the other night. The shots he's taking are so difficult. Like there are a lot of off the dribble threes from beyond 27, 28 feet where he's drifting, to get the shot off. Particularly if Joel's not out there, Paul's not out there. Your next best offensive player is a rookie. Like there's just so much pressure on him on those nights. When the shot quality goes down, your percentages go down, your efficiency goes down. I think one of the things I didn't see the other night, and I said this at the start of the broadcast, was for them to have a chance in that game without Embiid, they had to play fast offensively. The only way you can do that to get him some gaps up the floor in the open court where he's so quick to the rim, you got to get stops. They were taking the ball to the net the entire game. I mean, the Sixers, the Knicks at one point were shooting 65% from the field with like 5 minutes left in the first half. I think it was 62% overall at halftime. When you are doing that, taking the ball to the net, you're limiting like easier opportunities up the floor where he can take advantage of early numbers. It just makes, he's so deadly because of his quickness. If you are not back in a line defensively, and if he gets a couple layups or floaters or something like that, all of a sudden the rim looks bigger. That's every scorer in the league. And I feel like he's not getting that stuff early in the game. Immediately, it's like deep threes off the dribble, or it's really difficult runners against a half-court defense. And it kind of snowballs against them a little bit. So I think the break is coming at a good time for the Sixers.
Like for some teams, they don't want the break to come right now because they're hot and they're playing well and they found something. Charlotte probably be one of those teams. Philadelphia right now needs this. And let's see what the reset button looks like when we start back up after the break.
Tim, last one. Mentioned that you won the three-point shooting contest in 1996, this All-Star weekend. What kind of memories come back to you when you think back to that time?
Man, so many, because, you think I took a different journey, man, like, getting cut a few times, going to Europe, playing in the CBA. And then finally, here I am in Washington, and I'd had a couple of years already in Golden State and Dallas where I played well, but this was like the season and leading the league in 3-point shooting going into that competition. So for me personally, that wasn't just let's just get together, shoot some threes, have some fun. I went to San Antonio, Texas, and I was so laser focused and locked in on winning this competition because I wanted to take a giant mallet and pound that mallet, right? And declare that I'm the best damn shooter in the world. That's how much it meant to me that night. And, you got these guys, Glenn Royce and Steve Kerr and like Dennis Scott and these guys, these are your guys, man. Like you get compared to, go out there and prove it. There's 25 balls. Let's see who can shoot the best. And so for me, I didn't treat it like just a fun weekend. I went there because I was there to win. And so I remember that, first of all. Secondly, my first child was born right before the competition. So my head was still spinning from that. And when I went down there, so I was kind of like in this weird, like numb. I wasn't sleeping much, and that was going on. And then finally, I just remember I lost my dad in 1992. And my father was like my number one fan. I mean, all of the games that he came to in the course of my life, he was a constant. And I'm telling you, that night, I made 13 out of 15 money balls. And there was a couple of those that were drifting right. And somehow they went in, man. And I think my dad was there watching over me that night and guiding some of those in for me to make sure that happened. So I remember thinking about him right after the competition. I felt his presence that night. And know he was looking over me and how proud he was of me, and how happy I was to make him that proud for all he had done to me and both my parents, the sacrifice for me. So that's kind of all of the things that I remember about that weekend. But the number one thing is I thought I was the best shooter, and I had to basically put up or shut up and prove it, and I did it. So I was very proud of myself.
So your dad saw you putting all that work in, and he was like, "I got to give him one last helping hand and make sure he proves it."
For sure, man, for sure.
You mentioned training for it though and practicing for it. How different is it shooting off the rack? And is that something you really need to get accustomed to with?
Yeah, for sure. And I was in the CBA for a couple of years, and I won it in the CBA. Okay. So I'd already done it, and I'd won it, and I knew I could do well. And if you don't practice it and think about it a bit, it is different. I mean, it just is a little. They've changed the format of it, and the point totals are different now, and you can score more points than you could when I did it. Because when I did it, I actually broke the record for the competition with my 3-round total. It was the highest record ever, and I broke Larry Bird's record, which was another thing about that night because he was my idol, my favorite player of all time. So now my name was going to be on that list with his, and broke his record. It was a pretty big deal. But they've changed the scoring. But one of the things that I thought mattered was little things like the first rack in the corner. I wanted to pull it from my right side, right, because it was a shorter run to the next rack. Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna have to run around the rack to get to the next rack. So even stuff like that, I knew that would save me a second or two, and that might come in on the last rack when all of a sudden you see some guys rushing just to get 5 shots off. I kind of knew by practicing it a few times, like the rhythm of it and where I could pick up a little time. And then the bottom line is like when I did it, like you had to shoot well for the money ball. You didn't have a chance, because those all worth 2 points, and I made 13 out of 15 that night.
That's great. So, because we see people doing like Con Knipple, there's already videos of him practicing while he's already in Los Angeles. So, what is it? That's the day before. So, what is it like the day of? Do you also get some shots in?
You do get some shots in. Yeah, and I actually had an advantage that night too. All these little things happen for me. So you draw a number. I don't know how they do it now.
Okay.
They literally passed a hat around for the 8 shooters, and you pick the number.
Real high tech.
I was number 1, so I was in the first group. And I thought that mattered because we shot around for about 30 minutes, right? But this is a TV event. So there's commercials, and there's introductions, and there's sitting around waiting, right? So in real time, the guys that shot like 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they were probably sitting there for 20 minutes.
Right.
I just got done warming up. they introduced us, I was still kind of sweating. I had a lather going, and I had the rhythm from when I finished up my warm-ups, and I shot very well in warm-ups. So I was really feeling it. Like, yeah, give me the ball now, and put up a big number. So now you're advanced to the second round. That's 4 of you. And then I shot almost the same score in that round pretty much. And now you're down to the last 2. And you know, real last story about this. So get down to the last 2. It's me and Dennis Scott. They flip a coin to see who wants to shoot first. And he wins the coin toss. I had already thought in my head, if I win the coin toss, I knew for a fact I was going to shoot first.
Right.
He wins the coin toss. He paused for a second. He goes, "Oh, y'all let him shoot first." I thought that was a major mistake because now there's a number to chase.
Yep.
Right. So if you're just shooting with no number to chase, you're just shooting and make as many as you can. And I put up 20 in the last round, which was a really high score for the last round. And I felt really good. It was going to be tough for Dennis to be able to do that. He was a great shooter. It was going to be tough for him to be able to catch me. But that was another thing that kind of went my way that night, was him electing to let me go first, and I didn't have a number to chase.
That's dope. Well, listen, man, if the Sixers bring back our annual media shooting contest and all, I'm calling you for some tips so I can know.
All right, you got it.
We need to bring him in as a ringer. Come on now.
There you go,
That's
man.
right. That's right.
Go.
Well, listen, Lex, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Good luck with the move. And we will catch you after the break. Make sure everybody, you check him out at All NBA, at the All NBA All City Podcast with Adam Morris. And of course, the busy schedule for the second half of the NBA season on ESPN. The best out there, Tim Legler. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.